This is feedback to task 2 of the StartupFCMatchReport project, sponsored by Catapult. StartupFC is an initiative designed to give young data scientists and sports scientists an opportunity to practice and showcase their skills. And what we've asked here is we've given scientists access to a full match report of Catapult GPS data, and we've invited people to write a report based on that. Now, we've had 2 responses, a team led by Liam and a team led by George. And the thing I'd always start with is one of the key things in this industry, and I imagine any industry, is initiative. And George's team and Liam's team, well done. You've taken the initiative and you've put some extra work in, and that's appreciated and that is noted. But I thought what I'll do this time, instead of going through your reports page by page, is maybe I'll describe a little bit about what my match report looks like and what I'm really hoping to achieve with that match report. And I think the reason why is I got a little bit of a feeling that, and this is inevitable, you're new to the industry, and in some ways, you haven't been exposed to the actual requirement of what is this match report for. So I got a little bit of a feeling that the match reports almost looked like an assignment, that you were kind of filling space a little bit. And the one match report was 12 pages long, the other match report was 22 pages long. And, when I'm walking into a coach's office the day after a game, I don't necessarily have a lot of time with the coach. And what I definitely don't want to do is I don't want to overload him. So I've got to get the absolute shortest, punchiest message across that I could possibly can. Now, I deliver 2 kinds of match reports. I deliver a psychological match report and I deliver a physical match report. My physical match report is 4 pages long, and I've got to be able to deliver that in, I don't know, if I have to, 2 minutes. So let's have a think about what I'm trying to do with that match report. Now, so that comes back to that question that I asked in the last in the last task, which was, what is a match report for? Now, when it comes to a team match report, I'm wanting to tell a story to the coach. And I have to start this match report thinking to myself, what is the story I want to tell? And maybe there are 3 main points, or at least there are 3 points that I can think of right now. The first of those is the team fit? That's one thing that the coach is definitely interested in, is my team fit compared to other teams? The second question that the coach is definitely going to be interested in is, did the team work hard? Did they apply themselves? And the third story that the coach is also going to be interested in is, can I learn anything about this match from the physical data that is going to help me win? So to go through those again, is the team fit? Well, the comparison there has got to be to some external benchmark. So does my team run as much? Does my team work as hard? Do they have as much intensity, as much acceleration and deceleration as other teams? Or are they as fit as they've been previously in other times of the season? I think that's something that the coach definitely wants to know. And in my experience, they're always interested in that. The second question, did the team work hard, is, did each individual player perform to the capacity that we know that player is capable of? So the first question I will answer by comparing the team to other teams. The second question I'm probably going to answer by comparing the player to himself. If I know this player is capable of running 10 kilometers in a match, and believe me, that is not the most important metric, but I'm just choosing it as one that everybody can kind of relate to. If the player is capable of this, did he produce it in this match? Did he deliver on his capacity? That's the second question. And then the third question, which in some ways is what is going to distinguish you as a sports scientist from kind of everybody else, is, can I learn anything about this match that is going to help me win? And what you're looking for here is, you're looking for patterns. Can you, with your physical data, help the coach gain some tactical insight into the match? And, definitely don't overdo this, because you don't want to kind of overplay your hand. But questions I would have here is, how was the effort distributed amongst different positions? Really interested in that. What did my midfielders do? What did my defenders do? Wide players and forwards, because that can tell you something about how the match has gone. Obviously, you know, everybody has a role, and if you can see that those players have been forced to do things that are outside their normal roles, maybe you haven't had total control over the game. The second thing I'd want to look at is I'd want to look at output category versus category. Now, in my match report, I've got 4 categories that I'm interested in. I'm interested in intensity of effort, and so far, nobody's given me an adequate calculation of intensity of effort, but we'll get to that. That's my first category. My second category is the distribution of speed. So total distance and then speed above certain thresholds. The third category is acceleration, broken down into various thresholds. And the fourth category is deceleration, broken down into different thresholds. And that is interesting to me because if a high-speed match has different implications to a high acceleration match, for example, or a high deceleration match, or a high work rate match. So I'd be wanting to give the coach some insight into which categories were higher or lower than normal. And then the other very obvious thing about patterns in a match is, how were efforts distributed over time? Because the coach will have a sense of when his team was on top of things or was maybe struggling, and the coach will be interested in whether those periods of dominance or suffering are matched with different kinds of physical efforts. So I'm going to be interested in that as well. So in terms of, what does the match report actually look like? And I'm saying I'm getting this thing into 4 pages. Let's see. Okay, so the first thing is the front page, and this Liam and George. What I've liked about your report is they start off with a nice bold front page, because a lot of coaches like a hard copy of a match report, and certainly it's easier, even though their tablets and laptops and all of that, it's easier to walk around with just a printed out match report that you can show to a coach, you can show it to a player. It's flexible rather than having to open up your computer and so on. So I always print out a hard copy, and because I'm handing that hard copy over, it needs a nice bold cover page, so that when it's sitting in the coach's in tray, he can immediately see what it is. So yeah, I don't need to say too much about that. It's not too complicated. The second thing, page 2, is going to answer the question, is the team fit? Can I compare this match as a total output by the team to other matches? And can I compare this match as a total output relative to other matches by other teams? And the best way of getting a lot of information into a small space is really a color-coded table. So just kind of think about that. Excel does a graduated color code where you can have, for example, blue for low, red for high, and white for somewhere in the middle. What I don't really like about that is it doesn't give clear distinctions between one area and another, and the colors sort of merge into one, and you don't really get sort of hit in a punchy way by the information. But that's something to think about, is how do you display clearly and concisely a large amount of information? That's page 2. Page 3 is, did the team work hard relative to their own individual benchmarks? So what I want to see here is again, I want the entire team's information on a single page. I want to see every player and every metric relative to some kind of benchmark on one page. So, again, Liam and George, you gave me this information, but you gave me this information in 10 pages or 20 pages. And there's no ways a coach is either clicking through a 20-page presentation or flipping through a 20-page presentation. You've got to have that on one page. And the best way to do that, as far as I know, and, love to see something different, is a color-coded table. And then the next page, page 4, is, can I learn anything tactical about this match? So what patterns are there? Can I see output over time? So over, on and the one way you can do this is you could break the match down into 10-minute segments or 15-minute segments, something like that. And you could show me totals produced in the acceleration categories, deceleration categories, and sprinting categories, totals produced in each segment of time. That's one way you could do it. The other way you could do it is you could have a trace, a minute-by-minute trace, tracking speed or acceleration over time. Now, just a warning there, because in football, efforts are so unevenly distributed, once you give a trace, a lot of the trace is just going to read 0. So it just ends up looking like a kind of column chart with really thin columns rather than a line graph. And that's not that interesting because you don't really get the sense of continuous effort. And, just on that note, one of the metrics that people gave is average distance. And, just remember that because football matches tend to last the same amount of time, average distance is very similar to total distance. So I don't really need two metrics there. But the one question that I have asked, and I haven't got an answer to this yet, I've got an answer to it. I put this in my match report, and I'm challenging you to come up with a solution, is how do you display how hard somebody is working at any moment in time? Because I think you can work that out on a second-by-second basis, and that's quite interesting. If I can track where the individual efforts are and where the team efforts are over time, that can tell me something about the match. So that's something for all of you to think about. So that's the one pattern that I'm interested in, is output of effort over time. Another pattern that I'm interested in is positional distribution of effort. The last thing that I want to see is that my forwards have done no running and my defenders have done lots of running. That's a match that has got out of control. I want to see midfielders performing a particular kind of effort, maybe with high accelerations, continuous efforts, not necessarily high speeds because they're not responsible for running past people. I might want to see some of my team having produced high intensity decelerations because that tells me that they're pressing. I wouldn't necessarily want to see high volume decelerations because that suggests that my team has been out of possession for quite a lot of the game. And then definitely forwards and wide players, I want to see that they have accumulated a high distance of high speed running because that suggests that they've had the space to run into and they've found those spaces and the ball has been put into spaces where they can chase. So I'm interested in that. I'm interested in that positional distribution of effort. The next thing I'm interested in, obviously, is, and I've spoken a little bit about this, is the category distribution of effort. Because if I'm seeing high-speed running, it's telling me there's been space. That can be a good thing or a bad thing because either the opposition team has been providing the space or my team has been providing the space. But high speeds tell me about space. Medium speeds can tell me about effort. Somebody's accumulated a lot of distance at around 21, 22, 23 kilometers an hour. That generally tells me that this person is looking to make themselves available for a pass or for the ball. They're looking for action, they're looking for trouble. The same with high acceleration, either counts or volumes, is this person is looking to break clear of his opponent or his marker, and that says something to me about effort or determination. So, we've got players in our team who accumulate a lot of accelerations, a lot of distance above, say, 21 kilometers an hour, and that tells you something. Obviously, deceleration is telling you mainly about pressing, and high speeds, I mentioned that. So I think we've got this kind of category distribution of effort. That is interesting, and that's a story that I can tell the coach. And then finally, if you have in and out of possession data, now, this is a kind of another data stream that you need to integrate with your Catapult GPS data in order to do this. But that can tell you something as well, because it's interesting whether your team is working hard when they have the ball versus are they working hard when they don't have the ball. That's really some feedback on what a match report is for. So, I'm not going to summarize that because I've already said it. But just to finish up, Liam, well done, great work. Thank you for the report. It is useful to me because it's giving me information. So I read the report and I learned something, and it's given me insights. But there's the feedback. George and your team, well done. And the same. I went through the report. I'm learning from it. I like the way that you present the information. But 4 pages, 5 pages. There's the next challenge. And the other thing I would say is just think about things like label sizes. Is the report legible? Bear in mind that you might even be walking next to a player as you kind of walking out to the pitch. So this thing has got to be as absolutely simple and comprehensible and easy to read. Big letters. Just give some thought to that. And finally, like I said before, thank you to Catapult, who have made this project possible. Catapult and I have worked together for a long time, and this is a really exciting initiative. Wouldn't be possible without them. They're providing the GPS system that produces the data that we're working on and is giving us these insights. So great to have them along for the ride. And thank you to the team who are participating. And let's see what we can do in the next match report.